It is believed that leaders must possess good character and be equipped with tools to inspire confidence in others to develop a nation. Once again, the Gudi Jidemma Foundation Public Lecture seeks to achieve this aim with its 6th biennial lecture titled Governance, Insecurity, Poverty and Economic Development with Africa. The lecturer for the day, Professor Patrick Lumumba, urges Africans to practice a democracy unique to the continent and to unite in trade. Our correspondent Mary Alala Yusuf now reports.
Guests and invitees to the public lecture exchange pleasantries as they proceed into the hall. The former representative of Nigeria to the United Nations, Professor Joy Ogu, who is the chairman of the event, touches on the areas of concentration for the day, and the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Professor Pat Utomi, charges the audience to act on what it hears.
For architect Jidemma himself, he cultivated enduring values, and his desire was to hand over to succeeding generations. Can we ask ourselves, in the current system of democracies that we practice, how we have evolved virtues and values in order to govern?
If we could make a commitment to doing something, because change will only come from each and every one of us doing something about the space around us.
Without a script, the lecturer for the day, Professor Patrick Lumumba, who was a one-time director of the Kenyan Anti-Corruption Commission, speaks about the common ills of African states and prescribes a unique Afrocentric democracy.
Every election cycle in Africa is a mortal threat to the survival of the nation, which begs the question, has time not come for Africa to define her own democracy? Is there a system of governance that can be uniquely African, that is democratic if democracy means participation of the people?
He encourages Africa to wean herself off foreign aid and form strong bonds between her member states.
We can only begin to grow economically when we are talking about value addition. Africa Agenda 2063, in my view, are the first baby steps which herald realization by Africa that Africa can only unite if she speaks with one voice.
One of the lessons learned is that change may be slow, but is possible.
It's about mindset shift in looking at things. He has said he's an Afro-optimist. And I think that's what we should all be, Afro-optimists, because we have to regain our continent.
Another lesson is that in unity, Africans themselves, and not the Western world, must take responsibility for bringing Africa to limelight. Mary Alale Yusuf, Channels Television News.
You're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, reaching you live from Lagos. Let's quickly switch over to our Abuja studios now, where Mark Bayer Ogun Yusuf is standing by to take us through a couple of more stories on the news at 10. Mark Bayer.
Hello, Gimba. It's good to see you. And we have our first story from here in the Federal Capital Territory, where members of the Civil Society Situation Room are asking the National Assembly to prioritize the passage of bills proposing electoral reforms over those targeting the prohibition of hate speech. The convener of the Civil Society Situation Room insists that there is an urgent need for these reforms in order to curtail the excesses of politicians during future elections. He was speaking in Abuja at a joint meeting with the Independent National Electoral Commission to review the just concluded Kogi and Bayelsa state governorship elections.
Having a free, fair and credible election where votes count is the desire of most electorates in Nigeria. However, observers report on recent elections, including the 2019 general elections, have revealed the huge gap that exists between the desire to have a credible exercise and the realities. At this meeting, members of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room and INEC reviewed the just concluded Kogi and Bayelsa state elections. They urged the National Assembly to prioritize bill for electoral reforms instead of the hate speech bill being considered by the lawmakers.
I had jokingly mentioned to one of the committee chairmen yesterday that this bill on electoral act reform is much more urgent than the hate speech bill, and so we would be very disappointed if the hate speech bill was to have a public hearing before the electoral act amendment bill, and it was laughed off. But I think it's something that as part of our advocacy on the hate speech issue we need to take forward. And I'm hoping that all of us in Situation Room in civil society will join the push to have a comprehensive review of the Electoral Act. We believe that there is good enough time. We believe that there is a lot of enthusiasm within the executive and the legislature to push through a fresh round of Electoral Act reform.
Addressing the gathering, the INEC National Commissioner that supervised the Kogi election says the violence that was reported was anticipated by the Commission.
The violence we saw was predictable. You know, some of the things that had happened, for instance, the impeachment of the deputy governor, you know, just a few weeks ahead of the election, I thought was very, very, very important because it underscored, you know, our worry about impunity.
Political leaders in a true democracy are chosen only by elections, reason why some political watchers believe that there is need to constantly review the laws guiding polls.
And staying with electoral matters, one of the candidates in Saturday's supplementary election for the Kogi West senatorial seat, Senator Dino Melaye of the PDP, is not happy with the plans of the electoral umpire. He wants the exercise to be cancelled over what he describes as intimidation of voters and violence in the first conduct of the poll. Senator Melaye today approached INEC again with yet another petition, asking the Commission to act on his petition and share preparations for a supplementary poll. The PDP candidate is asking INEC to postpone the exercise, alleging that INEC did not include some of the polling units that were cancelled during the November 16th election. And the federal government is seeking a partnership with advertising practitioners in an effort to stop hate speech and fake news. Addressing the 2019 National Advertising Conference, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Information, Mrs. Grace Gepe, believes that advertisers can ensure that advertisements and brandings are always mindful of the nation's diversity. Mrs. Gepe, who represented the Minister of Information, says the practitioners should make national interest paramount in the advertisement.
The 2019 edition of the National Advertising Conference brings together top players in the industry. The focus of the conference is the contribution of advertising to Nigeria's socio-economic development. That is emphasized in the opening speeches.
In branding and in any other form of advertising, we must be mindful of our diversity and show respect to others who may be different from us in terms of their ethnicity, religion, their practice, and their political beliefs.
To ensure a robust and viable advertising industry in Nigeria, we strongly solicit for more perceptible support, encouragement, and partnership of various levels of government with the private sector in the advertising business.
But the practitioners have the concerns, especially the absence of a chairman for the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria.
APCON must play its regulatory role without fear or favor. A situation where interlopers are allowed to infiltrate the business, as is the case in many sectorial sectors, must be stopped. One keeps hearing stories of how the rules are being bent for children of the strong and powerful. This cannot be good for the industry. A situation where the law proscribes foreigners from acquiring not more than 25% equity, and they circumvent this by using unscrupulous Nigerians, must be stopped and reversed.
Many clients compete with their agencies by setting up shop internally and also negotiating and buying media directly when they are not registered with AFCON to perform these functions. And it is for these reasons and more that I once again call on the government to reconstitute the AFCON Council and appoint a chairman. To us, it is inconceivable that the last chairman and council were in 2015, and they served for just a few months before the Buhari administration scrapped all boards and parastatals.
The 2019 conference offers an opportunity for these issues and conflicts to be addressed. These practitioners are hoping to confront the challenges as the profession evolves.
When the News at 10 returns, rescuers from several countries scramble to find survivors of deadly earthquake that hit Albania, killing 28 people. That and more international stories on Around the World in 5. Do join us again.